Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 80 of 100 Days of Magic. Today, we're going to look at Fifth Dawn for some EDH cards. Fifth Dawn was released in June of 2004, so that makes it, as of right now, almost 15 years old. Wow. And 165 cards, 55 of each now. 55 rare, 55 uncommon, and 55 common. So let's get to it. Now, Fifth Dawn was one of my favorites. It obviously is the last set in the Mirrodin block. And it's just is this the set that Morrow designed completely 100% by himself? I think it is. No, that was Saga, the last Saga set. Yeah, I think this was a different set of mistakes. Anyway, Auroch Champion. It's the Soul Warden with super upside for an additional mana. Really, really good. Pro black, pro red. Non-block that can, especially protection's a really big asset in our format. It doesn't help against board wipes, but you know what? It helps against a lot of creatures. It's a really good blocker and, incidental life gain. Beacon of Immortality. Double target player's life total. Now, one rules important thing is that anytime your life goes up, like doubling, it's counted as you gaining life. So for things that, gain you life, that trigger off of that will happen on doubling your life or doubling. And I love the fact that you can target another player. So this is it's a chance to be a big political card. And I have always wanted to use it as a way to, double somebody's life total that really hurts them. Like if they've got one of those crazy backwards life things where, if they gain life, they lose, or, I don't know. Bringer of the White Dawn. For 9 mana, there's a cycle of bringers, and I think we're going to talk about most of them here. They were 5/5s. I'm not sure if they were all 9 mana, but let's face it, they were all 5 mana. Because you could pay Wooburg to one of each color, white, blue, black, red, green, rather than pay their casting cost. This one's got trample, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target Mindslaver from your graveyard to play. Okay. The card actually says artifact, but let's face it, we're bringing back the Mindslaver. Now, I'll admit, in decks that I run Bringer of the White Dawn in, well, first off, it's got to be 5 color because that dang alternate cost makes it a 5 color identity. So it's difficult to focus on artifacts when you're doing 5 color, you know what I'm saying? But in decks that I run Bringer of the White Dawn, yeah, there might be a Mindslaver, but there also is probably going to be a Burnished Heart, a Sad Robot, cards like that are just absolutely great when you can reuse them. Raksha. Now, this was my first Voltron commander. This is the first one I ever did. 7 mana, 3/4, Vigilance. And as long as he's equipped, cats you control, including him, +2/+2 and double strike. So you just put a Bone Splitter on him, he becomes a 5/6 double striker. Now, Sword of somethings and locks it on Warhammer. Cats you control. So all of those other cats that help us out by, letting us equip at instant speed or letting us equip for free, or every time they make an equipment, Raksha just gets better. Raw Reclamation. For 7 mana, I kind of wish this was an instant. But it would probably be a little broken then. Yeah. Oh, I didn't read that, did I? For 7 mana sorcery, Roar of Reclamation, each player returns all artifact cards from his or her graveyard to play. Like I said, I'm trying to read the cards because I have a lot of people who listen. Like me, I ingest quite a bit of content on the road. I work an hour away from my home, so I've got an hour to an hour for every day drive. So I listen to a lot of what would normally be videos. So Steel Shaper's Gift's a 1-mana sorcery for white. Search your library for an equipment. Yeah, equipment tutor. It goes straight to the hand. You can guarantee that you're going to get that busted equipment that you want. Here again, every time they make an equipment, Steel Shaper's Gift gets better. And this just doesn't see a lot of play. I figured it would be your second copy of your boots. For decks that you've got to have your commander, it's the second copy of your boots to go get your boots. Acquire. Now, there's not a lot of decks out there that just don't run artifacts. And for 3 blue sorcery, search target opponent's library for an artifact card. Put that card into play under your control. Of course, they shuffle. Whoa. Something just occurred to me. Maybe. What is that? Player shuffles their library. They take damage. Searches their library. No. Shuffles their library because you're the one searching. Because Ob Nixilis says when they search, they take 10 and sack a dude. You're the one searching. But there may be a whole deck around that. Ob Nixilis, what is it? Is it Psychogenic Probe that does 2 damage every time somebody shuffles? Soldier of Fortune makes somebody shuffle. Cards like this, you could go in and search their deck and they have to shuffle afterwards. Forced shuffling. That's something to think about. What is that? Blue, black, red? That's what those cards are? Grixis Forced Shuffling. I done put an idea in my head now. This set also had a cycle of beacons. Now, though, they were all monocolored. They did their thing and shuffled themselves back into their library. Now, Beacon of Tomorrow's here at 8 mana, 6 blue. Target player takes an extra turn after this one, and then you shuffle this back into your library. I've seen crazy ways to exile your own library. Thought Lash. I've seen people Thought Lash and just have a Beacon of Tomorrow and just keep casting the beacon over and over for infinite turns. That's kind of the hard way to do it. I think that was the problem in Standard not too long ago with Nexus. But anyway, I don't know. Beacons, they're better taking extra turn spells, but this one you get back. So you have the chance of drawing it again. If you've got shenanigans to where you can tutor it up reliably, that's where it gets pretty intense. And the Bluebringer at 9 mana, 5/5 trample. Of course, you can pay Wooburg rather than it's 9 mana. But at the beginning of your upkeep, you may draw 2 cards. You don't have to. You missed that trigger. Sorry. But, yeah. This one, well, I think first off, any of the Bringers, if you're paying 9 mana, we're just doing it wrong. Now, I like the card Celestial Dawn from way, way back. We'll see it again in Time Shifted. Well, no, because I won't do Time Shifted because it's all reprints. But Celestial Dawn whitewashes everything so that you can pay 5 white mana for, your Wooburg here. And since you are playing 5 colors, it kind of solves all your mana problems. But anyway, Beacon of Unrest was, because I think this may have been the cheapest beacon at 5 mana, artifact or creature card from a graveyard. So, like, putting something from a graveyard into play, that's Zombify. That's a creature from your graveyard into play. That is kind of the baseline for Zombify. And that's 4 mana. For adding 1 more black mana, you get an artifact or a creature, and from anybody's graveyard, and you get the card back. I love Beacon of Unrest. It's probably my favorite beacon. Bringer of the Black Dawn. Here again, 9 mana, 5/5 trample. You can pay Wooburg rather than cast it, or than its casting cost. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may Vampiric Tutor. Yeah, pretty strong. Mephidros Vampire. Oh, it warms my heart. It makes me want to go find a Triskelion so bad. 4 black for a 3/4 flying vampire. Each creature you control is a vampire in addition to its other creature types, and has, whenever this creature deals damage to a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Now, Triskelion is obviously the original. Now I think people are doing this with Walking Ballista or whatever that other one is. But Tooth and Nail most times goes and gets Mephidros Vampire and Triskelion. See, the way Triskelion is a 6 mana 1/1, comes into play with 3 1/1 counters on it. You remove a counter to deal a damage. So it wipes all creatures off the board pretty much forever. Because you remove the counter from the Triskelion to deal a point of damage to something, which puts another counter on it, and you just keep, you don't ever not get the counters. Now, if you want to mix in green and have like a doubling season or a hardened scales type effect, where when you put a counter on it, you put 2, you start growing. Not only do you keep all creatures off the board, but you have an infinitely large Triskelion that gets up to enough to where you can actually start killing players with it. Anyway, I'm sure there are other ways to abuse Mephidros Vampire. That's just my personal favorite way. Night's Whisper. I love Night's Whisper. 2 cards, 2 life, and what appeals to me the most is there's only one specific black in it. So in your black red, in your black green, in your black white, this is a card. Now black blue, if you're playing blue, you've got better card draw options anyway. You don't have to lose the life. But it's cheap, 2 for 2. Relentless Rats. You want to talk about blowing people's minds. This card blew everyone's mind. So, and then there was the EDH thing of, so what about Relentless Rats? I realized, well, it's printed on the card. That can have any number. This was the first card that we got that had the any number clause on there. As of the recording of this video, 3/20/19, there are 4. There are 3 black ones and 1 blue one. We just got the blue one in Allegiance, the Persistent Petitioners. Of course, we have the Relentless Rat. We have another rat, and then we have a Cleric. We'll get to them in due time. But 1/1 for each other creature named Relentless Rats. There's a million ways to play this card. Just even with no shenanigans, if you just pack 35 of them in a deck or 40 or whatever your chosen number is, and you just cast one every turn, that's a clock. But if you add in the weird stuff like Thrumming Stone or other things like Thrumming Stone, I want to say Thrumming Stone in 42 is somebody has done studies, and I can't remember the exact number of if you have Thrumming Stone in play, there is a mathematical number of Relentless Rats that you cannot whiff on. I can't remember what it is, because by the time you have it in play, you have so many cards gone out of the deck and lands and whatnot. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's guaranteed to me. But anyway, I've done it, and it's nuts. A buddy of mine, Goose, had a Relentless Rat deck that he took to a years and years ago. I don't know where he took it to, but he was winning pods with it, because he would win the pod, and you would win so many packs and entrance into the next pod. And yeah, it was ridiculous. He did that so much. I think he got a couple of boxes worth of product that day. Granulate. Destroy all the little artifacts. For 2 in red, a sorcery. Destroy each non-land artifact with converted mana cost 4 or less. So they didn't want to blow up the artifact lands. They just wanted to blow up the cheap little things, 4 and less. It's not bad, but have you ever seen this card played in EDH? I haven't. And it's pretty good, because most of the artifacts that we care about blowing up, especially because you can curve out at turn 4. If you're playing red, no artifact. Granulate. You're going to get dang near probably every artifact on the board. Mana Geyser, I can't preach enough good about this card. I don't think I've ever gotten less than 12 mana off this card. Ever. It is beautiful. And you can control how powerful it is. I mean, yes, if you need the mana that turn, you look around and you're like, oh, I'm only getting 9. I'm only getting 9. The exchange rate here is amazing. I think the most I've ever gotten was in the 20s. But for if you're running storm decks, if you're running, mana generation decks, or if you just need, to fireball somebody, Mana Geyser's got you. All Sun's Dawn. All Sun's Dawn's a great 5-color card. I mean, even though it's 4 colors and a green, it's still just mono green. But for each color, return up to 1 target card of that color from your graveyard to your hand. Then exile this. It's a 5-card regrowth. If you now, my favorite thing to do is run this in heavy gold decks, to where you're like, this is my blue card and it's like blue black, and this is my black card and it's like red black white or whatever. Yeah, that's my favorite. I'll get Vindicate as my white card. I'll get Absorb as my blue card. Eternal Witness. Man, we didn't know then that she would become just an absolute powerhouse. Everybody was like, well, it's a regrowth on a 2/1 body. Would you pay 1 mana for a 2/1 body? Yeah, we will. Every time, as it turns out. And the fact that you make the regrowth ability blinkable, and when it's recursive, when it comes back from the graveyard, and you just want to do busted things with the Eternal Witness. And I really, really like this art. Therese Nielsen did a bang-up job on it. I'm not saying anything derogatory about the new art. It's also good as well, but I don't know. I'm an old guy, and I fall into the camp of this is Eternal Witness. The new one, I have to actually read it. I'm like, oh, that's Eternal Witness. The recognition factor is real, especially here, and somebody can play it, and you're like, yep, that's Eternal Witness. Joiner Adept. This is really not bad. It's like the creature version of, the Shadowmoor enchantment, but for 2 mana, 2/1, a colorless and a green, elf druid, lands you control have tap for any color. Solves your mana problems. Solves your mana specification problems. If you don't have enough, you still don't have enough, but turns all your lands into any color lands, so that's beautiful. Tornado Elemental, that's right. This is probably the only channel you're going to see this on an EDH review, but you know what? I love it. As a matter of fact, I'm actively looking for one. 7 mana, 5 green for 6/6. When it comes into play, it deals 6 damage to each creature with flying. Most of the time, that's enough to kill most of them. Most of your angels, dragons, demons have, somewhere thereabouts. It's going to do huge amounts of things. And it has super trample. You may have it deal its combat damage to defending player as though it weren't blocked. Which that is the deck I am, like right now I'm building one deck. It's laid out on the table. I'm finding cards for it for those slots and sleeving it up as I go, But off to the side, I've got like piles of cards for other decks. And I have a pile of may deal combat damage to defending players though it weren't blocked cards. Now, there's not going to be enough for an entire deck because we don't have that many of them, but it's definitely going to be a sub-theme in some kind of deck. And I think the only one I don't have is Tornado Elemental. Blasting Station. There are 4 stations in Fifth Dawn, and they all line up to create an infinite loop. They call it the Great Machine, and they put out the cards, and at first they did not tell us. They were like, "Yep, they do a thing. It's up to you guys to figure out what they do." So, and it's one piece of art as well that spans across all 4 cards. We'll get to them. Some were uncommon, some were rare. Cranial plating. Ooh, 2 colorless equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. Now this cycle of equipment, because each color had a small equipment that had the ability to attach it at instant speed. It taught us that equip, you know, because we kind of stopped reading. We don't, in the early days, we're like, oh, you know, as a sorcery, you know. But this was a very, very strategic teaching tool for us, because I'm telling you what, the ability to swing with something and then, oh, you didn't block, black, attach the cranial plating to that creature. Yeah. Crucible of Worlds. One of my favorites. Because I mean, yeah. Here's the kind of casual that I am. I saw Crucible of Worlds the first time, and I was like, huh. I can get back lands that somebody's destroyed. And then it took me actually seeing this in play with somebody's strip mine, and I went, oh my gosh, that's insane. Yeah. Of course, nowadays, fetches make this amazing. Of course, fetches don't really need anything to help make them amazing. They're amazing by themselves. But even stuff like those, yeah, you've got Terramorphic and Evolving and whatnot, but those, the cards that fetch 2 lands, there's the Blighted whatever, and the one that gets Plains and a Forest, and there's a lot of cards that get lands that get 2 lands. So Door to Nothingness. I love Door to Nothingness. It's a 5-color deck restriction. 5 colorless artifact comes into play tapped. For the activation of white, blue, black, red, green, so double Wooburg, and you sacrifice it, target player loses the game. It's pretty big, but to just, hey, you lose. Doubling Cube is steady climbing. Now, I love the fact that Mark Teeden did this art, and he also did the art for the original Mana Vault, and it looks kind of similar. Yeah, it's like they reimagined the Mana Vault art, and here it is. But anyway, it's really good. Just double the amount of each type of mana. Now, there is some wonky kind of rules in that. If you've got mana that specifically can only be used for one purpose, yeah, that's a thing. Energy Chamber, here again, pumping up those charge counters or putting +1/+1 counters on artifact creatures. This is another way I'm putting charge counters on my Magistrate Scepter. E squared. Engineered Explosives cost X. Now, Sunburst was a mechanic in 5th Dawn, and I'll be honest with you, 5th Dawn tried to encourage us to play 5 colors, if you haven't noticed by now. But the Sunburst mechanic it wasn't super widely received. It was, there were a few cards that were, people really liked. Engineered Explosives were probably the most popular one. Cards with Sunburst come into play with charge counter on it for each color mana used to pay its cost. So if you paid 2, as long as it was 2 different colors, it would come into play with 2 counters on it. But this one particularly, 2 color, sack it, destroy each non-land permanent with CMC equal to the number of charge counters on it. That had to be exactly. So what a lot of people did was you just threw it down for 0, blew it up and blew up all the zero cast. Or you could do it for one to do the. But I don't know. I have never actually cast this card because it's kind of not my jam. It's not, I'll be honest. Eon Hub. Oh my gosh, this was the most broken thing I ever saw. I thought, I was like, this is it. This card's getting banned. It is too powerful. You know what happens when you, for 5 mana, it's just an artifact that says players skip their upkeep steps. You know what happens when you skip your upkeep step? You don't have to pay upkeep cost. Those cards with cumulative upkeep that they tacked cumulative upkeep on to regulate the power level because they're just too good become busted. Yeah, no upkeep. Also, things like stasis you don't have to pay for now. You Eon Hub stasis, and, well, you're probably having to buy a new set of tires because they're cutting yours, But, yeah, it's, ooh. I love this card. Fist of Suns. Now, this, for 3 mana, a rare artifact, you may pay Wooburg rather than the mana cost for spells that you play. I run this almost exclusively with the, as I said earlier, the Celestial Dawn, so that you can, just do 5 white mana for anything. But the ability to get Wooburg is not bad. For anything. I'll play my Darksteel Forge for 5. I'll play my, Darksteel Juggernaut for 5, whatever. Goblin Cannon. Now, this is very similar to the old rocket launcher. 2 mana, or 4 to cast, 2 to use. Goblin Cannon deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Sacrifice Goblin Cannon. Now, obviously, if you're going to use this, we're going to filter a ton of mana through it at one time. We're going to activate it in response, activate it again, in response, activate it again. Because they don't want you to have this repeatable ability to be able to just do this every turn. But, pretty decent. Here's another Grinding Station. This one, 2 mana uncommon, sack an artifact, target player, mills 3, and then whenever an artifact comes into play, you untap it. Kind of, along the same line. Helm of Cauldron. Now, this was the third piece that really, it capped off the trifecta. First strike, 3 colorless, legendary equipment. Equipped creature has first strike, trample, and haste. And 1 mana colon. If you control all 3 of them jokers, the helm, the sword, and the shield, you get a 4/4 colorless avatar legend token named Cauldron into play, and you attach those to it. And then all of those abilities apply. Now, okay. Wizards. Here's my thing. Had this idea for a long time, and y'all tell me what you think. And I don't think anyone from Wizards actually watches my show. But anyway. What would you pay per pack for a 15 card pack, a booster pack set having, I don't know, a couple hundred cards in it of all tokens? Yeah, I know Ultra Pro has their token, little plastic token things, but I'm talking actual Magic the Gathering token cards. Now, there is no Cauldron token, official Wizards Cauldron token. Now, in this set, in this token set that I am proposing, you could have commons, uncommons, rares, and mythics. You could have, because there are a lot of cards that exist that produce tokens, very unique tokens like this one, that just don't exist. And this would be a great mythic or rare. You could do, and just the fact of having parallels of foils, you could do just a token set. 100 cards, 150, 200, whatever. Your commons would be soldiers and saprolings and whatnot. Or maybe you just do the uncommon weird ones from way back. Somebody at Wizards, I'm sure, has a list somewhere, or some player does, a list of cards that make tokens that don't exist. I'm telling you. You have zero fear. You have no... it's not going to break any format because, I mean, these are just tokens. You could even come up with some kind of cool back or something, something different, because you don't have to have the magic back on tokens. They're not in decks. Yeah. More zombie tokens for like the zombie horde thing or Eldrazi or whatever, Yeah, just 100% all tokens. You call it Magic the Gathering tokens. I mean, whatever. And you sell it in 15 card booster packs. You have foil parallels. And I firmly believe it would sell. If for nothing else, for the chance to get foil tokens. Because right now, foil tokens are really hard to come by. You've got the ones, and then you've got the private ones, people who've had them made. But a lot of people like me, I mean, I bought a whole bunch of RK Post tokens, but I like the tokens to match. You know what I'm saying? If I'm producing, if I've got a angel card that produces an angel token, I'm going to want the angel token either from that set or from that artist or something like that. But I don't know. I'm just crazy. My OCD knows no bounds. But anyway, that's my little rant on, that. Crackland Ironworks. This got banned in Modern recently. So I'm pretty sure I hadn't been keeping track of pricing of it. I know it got expensive there for a while. But it getting banned in Modern, I would imagine that plummeted the price. So that's going to put a whole lot of copies out there for EDH. Because Modern had kind of eat up a lot of the supply of this card. And now I need to think about getting a few more since they're so cheap. I've never actually traded or bought this card. I've got the number I've had from, opening packs back then. Well, I may have picked up one a random trade here or there, but Michelson Golem. Oh my gosh. Hands down, probably my favorite card in this entire set. Right when the set was released, they released an article on the Mothership website, and this card through design was 10 mana. And somebody there at playtest had broken it at 10 mana. And they told us how to do it in the article, and they said that's why it cost 11. So with 11 mana, it takes a whole nother turn. And I was like, you know what? I'm fine with that. This is bananas. Darksteel Colossus should not have affinity for artifacts. Blightsteel Colossus, Memnarch, all these cards are not supposed to have affinity for artifacts, and the ability to just give it to them. Of course, now odds are when they printed Michelson Golem, they had no idea that they would be printing, Blightsteel Colossus, 7-8 years later. They probably didn't have that, but man, this is the card. Salvaging Station, 6 mana rare. Tap, target non-creature artifact card with converted mana cost 1 or less from a graveyard to play. Whenever creatures put into a graveyard from play, you may untap Salvaging Station. I think I have a couple of decks that has the Great Machine in it. It's incredibly hard to depend on to getting 4 artifacts in play. 4 specific artifacts in play in a 100-card format. Silent Arbiter is a good old-fashioned favorite. I love that 1/5, that 5 toughness. It's a 4-mana artifact creature. No more than 1 creature may attack each combat. No more than 1 creature may block. Mono e mono. So, it keeps down a horde. If they are super committing to a tribe or a token or whatever, it keeps down the horde because you're like, no, only 1 creature may attack each combat. A lot of people use this in heavy exalted decks, things like that, because you're only swinging with 1 anyway, and whatever they're blocking with ain't big enough to matter. Ooh, Staff of Domination. Okay, maybe this is my favorite. This was 5th Dawn is an amazing set. Staff of Domination does all the things. It really does. If, what is it, 5 mana? At 5, if you can get a creature to produce 5 mana, or more than 5 mana, you do whatever you want. You draw all the cards, tap all the creatures, untap all the creatures, gain all the life. I mean, I use it a lot in Elves. I love the fact that the handles on the staff, if you look at the handles, they are the 5 colors of Magic. Now, they're not in, the cool order that I like to see them in, not in Wooburg order, but it is the 5. Summoning Station, we're just, blow past it. Vedalken Ore. Now, this one, I'm not telling you anything new about this card. We all know this card exists. It's a personal favorite of Mr. Josh Lee Kawhi's, and I completely and totally understand why. We're not getting this in... It's recently climbed because we found out we're not getting it in Modern Horizons, although this is totally reprintable. It wouldn't surprise me to see them throw this in a Commander deck. Gavin Verhey says that this year's Commander series will have a little bit better of a reprint equity than last year's did, so maybe the Ore sees play there. It is a super versatile card. It is amazing. I can't preach enough about it. Evidently, Josh can't either. But you can play, for 4 mana, an artifact, you may play non-land cards anytime you could play an instant. Now, I jokingly said for years, I want my sorceries to have flash. Well, this does it. And y'all know how much I love surprise blockers or surprise planeswalkers. What? Yeah. In response, at the end of your turn, I'm going to play Garrick. Vedalken Shackles. Now, this doesn't appear to be mono blue, and it's a 3-colorless artifact, but let's face it, it's mono blue. You can choose not to untap Vedalken Shackles during your untap step. 2 mana, tap, gain control of target creature with power less than or equal to the number of islands you control as long as this remains tapped. So, I'm that crazy guy that likes to steal their stuff and sacrifice it for like little to no gain and then do it again. Yeah. I'm going to steal your guy. I'm going to steal your 10 mana guy and sack it to my Ashnod's altar to get 2. Anyway. Wayfarer's Bauble. Great card. Maybe arguably the second best turn 1 play. Well, for artifacts anyway. Yeah, you don't have a Soul Ring, but you got a Wayfarer's Bauble? Okay, no problem. And that's what I've got for Fifth Dawn. Wow, 38 minutes. I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think, and we will see y'all tomorrow.